The notion that global warming is a satanic mission to undermine Jesus is a concept that has been circulating among certain Christian communities. This idea is based on the belief that Satan is actively working to destroy the earth and its inhabitants, and that global warming is one of the tools he is using to achieve this goal. According to this perspective, the increasing temperatures, melting ice caps, and extreme weather events are not just the result of human activities, but are also part of a larger spiritual battle between good and evil. Proponents of this idea point to biblical passages that describe the end times, where the earth will face severe tribulations, including environmental disasters. They argue that global warming is a sign of the approaching apocalypse, and that it is a deliberate attempt by Satan to undermine God's creation and Jesus' message of salvation. By causing chaos and destruction, Satan aims to distract humanity from his spiritual pursuits and lead people away from Jesus. One of the key arguments made by those who subscribe to this view is that global warming is not just a natural phenomenon, but is also driven by spiritual forces. They claim that the increasing focus on environmentalism and sustainability is a form of idolatry, where people are worshipping the creation rather than the Creator. This, they argue, is a tactic used by Satan to divert humanity's attention away from the true issue of sin and redemption, and towards a false sense of security and self-sufficiency. Moreover, some Christians believe that the push for renewable energy, reduced carbon emissions, and sustainable living is a plot to establish a one-world government, which they see as a precursor to the Antichrist's rise to power. They argue that the emphasis on global cooperation and collective action to address climate change is a thinly veiled attempt to create a new world order, where individual freedoms and national sovereignty are sacrificed for the sake of a perceived greater good. However, it is essential to note that this perspective is not universally accepted among Christians, and many see it as a misguided and overly simplistic interpretation of the Bible. They argue that the biblical account of creation emphasizes humanity's stewardship role, and that caring for the environment is a fundamental aspect of Christian discipleship. Moreover, they point out that the scientific consensus on global warming is clear, and that it is a pressing issue that requires a collective and concerted response. From a theological perspective, the idea that global warming is a satanic mission to undermine Jesus raises several questions. If God is all-powerful and sovereign, why would he allow Satan to wreak havoc on the earth? Does this not imply that God is either powerless or indifferent to the fate of his creation? Moreover, if the ultimate goal of Satan is to destroy the earth, why would he use a gradual and cumulative process like global warming, rather than a catastrophic event like a meteor impact or a global pandemic? In conclusion, while the idea that global warming is a satanic mission to undermine Jesus may seem far-fetched to some, it is a notion that has gained traction among certain Christian communities. However, it is crucial to approach this concept with a critical and nuanced perspective, recognizing both the biblical and scientific dimensions of the issue. Rather than attributing global warming to a single, sinister force, Christians should engage with the complexities of the problem and work towards a multifaceted response that combines scientific inquiry, technological innovation, and spiritual reflection. By doing so, they can demonstrate a more compassionate and responsible stewardship of the earth, and promote a more holistic understanding of the relationship between humanity, the environment, and the divine.